Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading from Agent Red Fatal Memory by Ava S. King, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me for Chapter 1. The low clicks from the clock on the wall slowly went by as Teagan's eyes opened, glancing around the 4x4 room. She was lying on top of a bed, wearing only a pair of pants and a t-shirt. Still groggy, not knowing what happened to her or what day it was, she tried to touch herself and found that she was chained to the railing. Where am I? She thought to herself. Teagan sat upright as the door opened. Walking inside was a man in a trench coat. He looked familiar, but she couldn't place him. Glad you're awake, Teagan, Agent Stanton said. Do we know each other? Teagan replied. Agent Stanton wasn't ready to give too much away. He knew based on the video evidence that she'd lived a simple life away from the firm. To jog her memory, he needed her to trust him again. I'm here to help you, he said, sliding his hand inside his coat pocket, grabbing the key to unlock her. I don't know why I'm here. Please let me go, she whimpered, struggling to get out of the locks. You have to promise that if I let you go, you won't try to escape, Agent Stanton said, stepping in closer. Teagan stopped wiggling her arm and looked up into Stanton's eyes. Teagan's eyes rose wide in surprise as she asked, Escape? Who do you think I am? Agent Stanton pulled the key out, then held it at the edge of his palm. He'd known Teagan for over 10 years. Her innocent look was what made her the perfect spy for the firm, an underground organization that worked cases to catch criminals, terrorists, and high-profile killers that the government couldn't get to without the public finding out. He met her for the first time in the Navy as a young recruit at 22 years old. She still had the innocent look about her at 33, with long curly hair, chestnut brown skin, doe-wide eyes, button nose, and athletic build. Even with kids and a husband, he knew the destruction that Teagan was capable of doing if set free. Stanton smirked and then replied, Agent Red. He thought he saw a brief glimmer in her eyes at being called Agent Red. I don't know who that is, she replied, holding her wrist out. Stanton bent down and unlocked her wrist. Rubbing her wrist, Teagan glanced around, checking every corner, seeing no windows or doors to leave out of. Come with me, Stanton stated, gesturing for her to walk in front of him. Teagan jumped up slowly, walking out of the room that led to a dark hallway with no windows. No use in looking around, Teagan. There's no escape. Teagan looked back at Stanton. Wanting to call her husband and children was her biggest priority. They were probably going crazy and calling the police to say she'd been kidnapped. As they headed through the hallway, they came upon a steel door with a computer screen on the wall where Stanton held his hand up and the door opened. After you, Stanton said. She stopped, holding at the door, and took in the room that held a desk, mirror, and another man sitting inside with a suit and trench coat. He doesn't bite, Stanton said. Teagan hesitatingly stepped inside, running a hand up her arm. The gentleman cleared his throat as Stanton shut the door behind him. How are you, Teagan? Agent Broderick Clinton said. Broderick was part of the division of the firm and close with her partner back when she went out on missions. He hoped she'd remember so things wouldn't be awkward. As she glimpsed around the room, she took in wondrous eyes as they finally focused on his eyes. I don't know how to answer that question. What's your name? She asked, sitting up in her seat. Broderick Clinton. We're here on the same team of the firm. Broderick Clinton. We were on the same team of the firm with Leah, Broderick said, opening the file folder and pulling out the photo of Leah and the team. A group of 6, 2 women and 4 men. Teagan was the leader of the first squad and Broderick was the co-captain. They'd gone on 8 missions together from Hong Kong to Budapest. They moved in silence to rid the world of any evil and dictatorship that caused the destruction of its people, specifically when they hindered the American politics. I don't remember her or you, Teagan said, pushing the photo back toward him. It'll take you a little time, don't rush. I think deep down you know who we are, Broderick replied, closing the file and leaning on the table, clasping his hands. If I remember faster, will that get me out of here? Teagan asked, waving her hand around the room. Broderick chuckled, showing his clear white teeth before shaking his head. No, unfortunately, we need your help. Leah has gone missing and we need the best, so we're calling her old team members and that worked on her last mission with her in Spain 6 years ago. Broderick noticed a twitch in Teagan's eye when he mentioned Spain. I've never been out of the country. I'm a housewife. The most excitement I have is joining the PTA potluck events, Teagan chortled. The door opened and 2 guards walked inside with 2 file boxes that Broderick pointed for them to put on the floor. Clearing his throat and removing his trench coat, Broderick leaned over and grabbed one box, bringing it up to the table. The last mission you were on was with Leah and myself. We thought it was successful, but unfortunately 6 months ago, Leah went missing. In Spain, we were putting down a drug cartel member named Diablo Garcia, a longtime member of the Kingston Bloods. They've crossed from the U.S. and back, selling drugs, guns, even human trafficking, Broderick said, laying out the evidence of Diablo's crimes. Teagan looked down and saw photos showing kids, women, and men all bloodied with guns to their heads. Others depicted buildings that had been blown up. Why are you telling me this? Teagan questioned, shifting in her seat. You were the leader of the team that went down to extract him from the underground in Spain, which you did. But some loose ends were found, and we think that's why Leah is missing now. It wasn't Diablo Garcia that you brought back, Broderick informed her. Who was it? A photo with a bandage across his head from a head injury showed a man with a long nose, beard, and beady eyes, thin lips with a red X across the top corner with the number 621. After DNA testing came back, we realized it was his cousin, Antonio Garcia, the second in command. We asked you back to help us find Leah and bring Diablo to justice. I can't help you, Agent Clinton. I don't know anything about being an agent or Navy person. You have the wrong person, Teagan explained, leaning back in her seat, crossing her arms over her chest. Broderick nodded his head down toward the 2 men that now stood in the corner since bringing the boxes inside the room. They walked over, and one reached out to grasp Teagan's shoulder. But before he could get a good grasp, Teagan grabbed his wrist, bent it back, and then watched as he fell to the floor, groaning out in pain. The second soldier came up on her right side, and she lifted her leg backwards, kicking him in the leg, causing him to bend over, crying out in pain. Teagan then twisted him around, putting him in a chokehold. Broderick clapped his hands together in pride at what Teagan was capable of doing. Agent Red, welcome back. Teagan, out of breath, released the soldier as she looked between the 2, staring at her hands. I don't understand, Teagan whispered. You suffered a head injury 6 years ago and decided to retire. It affected your memory, and somehow you suppressed your entire life at the firm. I can promise your family is safe, and I do apologize for the way we brought you back into the fold. The door opened, and Agent Stanton walked inside with the medical team to help the 2 soldiers up. Agent Stanton passed Teagan her badge and gun. I knew you had it in you, Agent Robert Stanton said. I want to talk to my family first. I don't even know what just happened. How did I do that? And I've never shot a gun before, Teagan stated as she sat back down in the chair, still out of breath. You're the top marksman at the firm, and right now your family is safe under FBI protection. Your husband is aware you were moved undercover. Time will let you talk to him, Stanton explained. We have a flight to catch in an hour. I'll explain on the plane, Teagan. For right now, you need to get showered and cleaned up, Broderick informed her. A woman walked inside with clothes and wash materials for Teagan to change into. She took it out of her hands and followed behind to go clean up. Do you think she trusts us? Broderick asked, watching as Teagan looked over her shoulder at the 2 men, stood staring as she walked down the hall and turned to the corner. One thing I can say about Teagan Stone is that trust was earned, and even then she kept you at arm's length. My boss wants an update ASAP, and if this doesn't work, it'll be your head on the line, Stanton told him, furrowing his brow at Broderick. Stanton knew that Broderick and Leah had a personal relationship for a year or two. The firm investigated him and found nothing that suggested he was involved with her going missing. Even though he was too close to the case, they let him stay on. An hour later, Broderick, Teagan, and 4 members of the old squad were on the plane going through paperwork from the first time they went looking for Diablo. The president of Spain didn't know they were coming into the country, and if it was ever found out, the U.S. government would deny even knowing them.